So your girl Nicki Minaj has been going on a Twitter tirade once again.
I didn't see that.
Didn't
see that either.
She's been discussing the idea or furthering the idea that Roc Nation has been plotting a conspiracy against her. So Hip Hop DX wrote an article regarding that. So a lot of things that she's kind of making claims of, it starts like with the Super Bowl and the fact that she feels like Jay-Z purposely blackballed Wayne at the Super Bowl. And kind of also,
oh
by
my
proxy,
God, nobody wanted Wayne at the Super Bowl.
But this, what she feels like is this: if Wayne would have been at the Super Bowl, she would have been at the Super Bowl, and they could have had that moment together potentially.
I mean, yeah, if Wayne was at the Super Bowl, then they would have had their little Young Money reunion, probably. Yes, but Wayne, vocal cords no longer work. His vocal cords look like his locks hanging on by a thread. Okay, his breath control. Not there. He doesn't even sound like he's speaking English anymore. He sounds like what's his face from the Wild Thornberrys.
He looks like him too, though.
Both. Like, can we stop talking about this? Like it was an actual rational thing that Lil Wayne was going to headline the Super Bowl. He can't speak English anymore. Continue.
So she in her most recent tirade, she went in to say that. She talked about, Demore Haley. So that is Desiree Perez's daughter, who has been making the claims and the allegations about what her mom has been able to do. I've looked into that. She did an interview with Jaguar Wright, the daughter.
Oh, Lord.
I'm just going to say this. I didn't want to believe it. Like, when I first heard the story, I wanted to say this woman is crazy and everything, all the allegations are true about her.
But why would you do an interview with Jaguar Wright?
When you feel like, but if you're in a position where your mom is who she is, who is else going to interview you except the person who's been talking trash about Jay-Z for a decade?
Somebody's going to interview you if you have evidence that you can bring to a journalist, that a journalist will then do their own investigation, and they feel like they can write this story without being sued for defamation, then they'll write it.
Well, there actually has been a story about it. This is what changed it. Because when I first watched the Jaguar Wright interview, I thought the same thing. I thought she was crazy. She was delusional. I thought she was really vague in what she was saying. Yeah. And her pattern was that throughout most of the interview.
Going to Jaguar Wright is like going to Tony Busby.
But I will say this. I looked into the actual reporting around it. So she made a claim where she said the police came to her to try to get custody of her. They brought a doctor, and the doctor was faking documents. So when it came to the journalist reporting, they said that they brought up the document, and the document looked funny. They just said, "Oh, psychosis." Didn't give no real diagnosis of why they were putting her trying to bring her in. They also told the police that two of the gentlemen that were with him were part of the hospital mobile team. They called the hospital. Hospital says, "We do not have a mobile team." These gentlemen worked for a security agency. So they were trying to get a hold of her with forging documents, essentially, and trying to actually put her away. She also goes into the conversation where she said she found a camera in her bedroom. And her mother was using that camera, apparently, this is allegedly to her, was using this camera to spy on them and called the police when they got into an argument. What I feel like is this. I think Miss Perez thinks she's Lucius from Empire. I think she thinks that for real. I think anybody who comes from the slums and makes themselves into what she is today in the manner that she's done that, thinks very highly of themselves and thinks that everyone, even especially their immediate family, needs to be a part and surveyed at all times. I think she just got rusty. I think you can't put a sophisticated camera of any kind into a rundown Florida home without it getting caught. Mm-hmm. I think that I think she put too much dip on her chip. I think she took a lot of preconceived notions she had about her husband, and when they had an argument, she ran with it and exposed herself, thinking she was saving her daughter. Because just imagine if we were having an argument and somebody just heard us yelling and all this other stuff, and then maybe something fell or you threw something and they thought I hit you. That's where it can sound like. Yeah. So if you don't really have the best idea of what's going on, you just got a small beeline to the bedroom and you're just hearing audio, of course you're going to think, oh, this man going off on my daughter, let me call the people in the house, what she said happened, and told them what's going on. So they jump into the room and say, oh, stop hitting her. They worlds apart from each other in the bedroom. They're not even close to each other. Then that's when the police come. So that's why I'm saying it gives a little bit of credibility to the case that she was making once you kind of look at the other evidence and say like, oh, okay, well, maybe her mom is doing this. I don't think that goes into the other stuff with the Tory Lanez, because I think that's what Nicki Minaj is trying to lead into.
Yeah.
With the Tory Lanez behavior.
I feel like Nicki Minaj obviously has an ulterior motive too, trying to be on Tory Lanez' side. She's been having beef with Meg since before that.
Yeah, so she had tweeted this on June 20th to the PMs who claim it wasn't made clear to your ugly asses. Hopefully Demore, which is Desiree's daughter. Massive detail, page by page claim get you all the way caught up. And never call me a liar. Never insinuated either. Every single angle ever created fights for me. Oh, Angel. She said Angel. I said Angle. Angel ever created fights for me at the mere mention of the word as is related to me. Vengeance is the Lord. Be careful. Oh my goodness. She sounds crazy. No one who conspired on the wrong side will go unpunished for the role they played in this movie. I hope it's all worth it.
That's so dramatic.
Yo.
Like, it just seems like another coke-filled rant.
Like, to me, it really starting to feel more and more that last album that she came out wasn't a sign of her dominance for years to come and more of a last hurrah. Like, to me, that's what it kind of felt like. Like, we gonna let you go out on your big one with this album, and now I think with the financial issues that was saying that was coming out, I think it's just catching up to her in regards to that. And it's the fact that regardless, this is entertainment. And I know she's been dominant for as long as she's been dominant, but at the end of the day, beauty fades, and this is a young woman's game just as much as a young man's game in entertainment. And I think she's just feeling that pressure.
I feel like this goes back into, I feel like it always goes back into we need these celebrities to just like be less accessible. You are a legend in the game now. I feel like nobody would argue with that. And you're a legacy act now. Basically, you dip down, you pop back up, you put something out, you make your money, you dip back down. Like, you're tarnishing your legacy and you're making yourself look crazy. The more accessible you are for the longer you're out. Like, we've known you for God knows how long, and we've seen you crash out over and over and over and over and over again. Like, it's actually kind of insane. I would like to see less of everybody.
I think it's also kind of funny too. Like, after her rant, Jay-Z then performs for the first time in a while
in Paris.
They also have Cardi B at the location when this happens. Mm-hmm. Then after that, Cardi releases the trailer for her new album. So like all of this happens kind of like in conjunction. I don't think it was like sitting here planned, because she did drop that Outside song before this all this happened. So I think
she said she didn't even want to drop it.
Yeah, I could tell. It feels like she didn't want to drop it. That's exactly what I was going to bring up to you, because it feels like there's an outside push to make Cardi be like, hey, no, you have to get her out of here now. You have to make sure that your reign for the next decade is solidified at this moment.
I don't think they're trying to do that. I don't know. Cardi hasn't put an album out in how long?
I think that's part of the reason.
Like, I think if they were trying to make her dominate, then she would have the best writers, the best producers, the best camps, and things would be being pumped out. But that's not the case.
But she said on her own standpoint that people have changed in Atlantic. So there's been a lot of turnover in regards to Atlantic. So I can just imagine if she isn't feeling comfortable, she's been one of the most insecure celebrities we probably had in the last 30 years, 40 years. So I can imagine.
Extremely when it comes to her music and a bunch of other stuff.
And so I can imagine that prior team was trying to get her comfortable. We switch over now. Now the whole office is longer in comfortable mode. Mm-hmm. We don't want your prime, so-called prime of your career to continue to be on the same trajectory as Nicki, because you don't want it to be like, oh, Nicki eventually falls off, and then now you only got 2-3 years of dominance.
I think it's irrelevant to try to compare it to Nicki. Like, this conversation has been being had for so long, like the comparison between Cardi and Nicki. Like, I feel like, are they really having those conversations in the offices? I just can't wrap my mind around that.
I mean, that's what she keeps claiming. She is very convinced that Roc Nation, even Atlantic, have been conspiring to basically bring her light down in order to shine on others. Like, that's where her biggest claim has been. And
that's interesting, because the only instances where I can remember Nicki's light being dimmed are of her own doing in the past couple years, like her being on Queen Radio and saying a bunch of crazy shit, the beef with Meg, the Bigfoot thing, the lied on your dead mama, lied on your, like she was just like, it was just coke crash outs that diminished her light. It was nothing else. It wasn't the music. It wasn't the rollouts. It wasn't the marketing behind anything. Like, it was literally her just being herself.
But at the same token, if you compare her first, let's say, what's she been there about 15 years? Been in the game about 15 years? 2010.
For so long.
So let's just say 15 years. If you look at her first 7
say-
years, she didn't have really much competition. There wasn't
She
anybody.
didn't have any competition at all.
So just imagine you've gone through the large portion of your career, probably 50 to 60% of your career with no competition. And then next thing you know, there's all of this competition around you. You're going to feel like it was for you. It was to take you down. When I think she made a easier pathway for women to get into hip hop.
That's exactly what it is. All these bitches is her sons, for real. Like, all of these rappers who are now Nicki's competition were growing up listening to Nicki. At one point, Nicki was the only relevant person, female rapper, that they had to look up to. All of these women were Nicki Minaj fans, whether they want to admit it or not. Like, all of them have interviews from back in the day where they talk about Nicki Minaj and how much they love them. And I feel like instead, they are not Nicki's competition. Like, that's such a weird conversation to be having, because we're not having conversations talking about Travis Scott being Jay-Z's competition. That's stupid.
But
that makes no sense.
Jay-Z's not active like she is. She's still active.
She is still active, but Jay-Z is still kind of active too.
Not like how she's active though. She's literally just coming off a tour.
Who's active? Like Kanye. Kanye's still active. Nobody's having conversations talk about, anybody is Kanye's competition. Kanye is Kanye's only competition.
But I think it also comes.
So I just feel like it's a weird it's all of it is weird. Like, we know for a fact that Nicki is a legend. She's up here. Everybody else is down here. As far as like, you could put like Nicki, Remy, Lil Kim in that same box. But as far as like Lotto, Meg, Cardi, all of them are her sons. Doja, Doechii, every single one of these girls are her sons.
But she's
for sure.
But you got to understand, she's not going to feel like that, because you got to think.
She does feel like that.
No, she's not going to. Not that her sons, but she's also going to look at them as competition still. Like, she's going to look at them because regardless of.
That's what I wish was different.
I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of her cachet or where she's accomplished, they are still going to be fighting for market share. They're still going to be fighting for people's times, people clicks. So at the end of the day, that is your competition, especially when you were getting the lion's share of it because nobody else competed with you. Nobody else had the budget you had.
I feel like Nicki should be more confident.
But you also got to take.
She has the cult following that
you
she
think
has.
More confident? You think she isn't? They had the biggest ego on the planet.
I feel like if her ego was a healthy one instead of like an unhealthy ego, then she wouldn't see these people as competition. She would see them as her sons, as they are. Period.
I don't think she has the setup for that, unfortunately.
And then I hate when y'all be having conversations. Let's go back to the Nicki Sons part. Y'all be having conversations talk about, Doechii sounds like Doja. No, both of them sound like Nicki. Like, can we be fucking for real? Please. That's why they both sound like that, because they both have Nicki mannerisms. All of these women have Nicki mannerisms. All of them have cherry picked one thing from Nicki's personality, her whole style, and then blew it up to make it a different thing of their own, which is like what you do.